You know, adaptations in today's vehicles play a very important part. It could be considered as part of our repairs, if we want to say it that way. Let's talk about adaptations on a Hyundai. This was a 2005 Hyundai Elantra. Now this unit had an F4A 42 transmission on it, but this information could be the same cover for the F4A 42, the F5A, and the rear wheel drive, which is the R4A or the R5A. Now we're going to talk about the importance of adaptations using this example. Now this vehicle, the customer did not want to put a rebuild transmission. All he wanted was a used transmission because of the funds. And this thing had a horrible 2-3 shift. It would almost change the radio station. That's how hard it was. And if you drive real slow, it would bind up on the 2-3 shift. All the other shifts were good, with the exception of the neutral to drive. It fell just slightly, but not enough to complain. So what we did is we went ahead and recorded the before and after. And we did this to show the importance of the adaptations and the role the adaptation plays in today's modern vehicles. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to bring this information up and so we can analyze it. So let's put our attention now to the screen. Okay, now what we did here is channel 1, which is yellow, we put a pressure transducer under the underdrive pressure, and channel 2, which will be green, on the second brake pressure, and channel 3, which is blue, on the overdrive pressure. So this here, what you're seeing right now, is the neutral to drive. Now remember, most of you, to be a good application, you should have your servo, torque, and inertia stage. This was the neutral to drive when this thing was shifting hard. It wasn't that noticeable, but you could feel it when you put it into drive. Not enough to complain. So here we are in the neutral to drive, and so that when you put it into drive, your underdrive pressure comes on, and so here we go, is on. Let's go down. Here's your 1-2 shift. So now you see the green, which is your second brake pressure, coming on. It wasn't hard. It was what I would consider was decent. Here is the 2-3 shift, where it would hit so hard it would almost change the radio station. And if you notice here, you have your servo stage, but it's really high, and there are almost no torque stage, and directly into the inertia stage. And if you see the release of the second, it just drops directly. And then the next, this is the very hard shift. So now I'm gonna show you the same shift when we did it when it was just driving real slow. Here is the same 2-3 driving real slow. It was so slow, but if you notice, the shift for the overdrive pressure looks the same, but look at the second gear. For some reason, the PCM dropped the pressure on second gear, but applied it again. That was giving us the bind up. So now that we see this, let's look at what happened now after we set the adaptations. Okay, so now this is the same vehicle after we set the adaptations. And now look at your neutral to drive when your underdrive pressure comes on. You recall the old one did not even look like this. Here you have your servo stage, your torque stage, and your inertia stage. And I have to admit, the neutral to drive was very smooth after it was adapted, after it was learned. So we cleaned the adaptation. So there's your neutral to drive. Here is your 1-2. You can see the big difference even in the 1-2 shift. So we did a number of 1-2 shifts here. So here's the 1-2 shift, and here's your 2-3. Now look at the difference, and the only thing that was done here was just, like we said, was just reset the adaptations. Look at the release of second gear. It was not a straight drop, but you have your nice servo, torque, and inertia of the release. You also have your servo. You can see the pressure rise and then drop down, and then here's your torque phase and then the inertia phase of the shift. And you can see the big difference. Now the shift here, on this shift, it took approximately, the other one was so short within seconds, and now you can see that it almost took there about a second, almost 2 seconds to do the shift. So you can see the big difference, and all we did here was just set the adaptation. This proves that the adaptations is very important in these vehicles. I've seen people replace computers, they've done so many other work and pull out transmissions. Most of them, you have to make sure that your adaptation is set. So this is an example of we wanted to utilize to show you the important adaptations. Not only in this Honda as an example, but we've seen the problems and adaptations on the 09G, the 5R55W, the AW55. We've seen the importance of adaptation, the Allison. So don't forget the adaptations, the importance of them. In this case, the only way that we could set these adaptations, unfortunately, started in 2004, 2005, is we had to send it to the dealer. None of the scanners were able to set the adaptation. You could not drive the old-fashioned way, try to relearn them. The old ones you could relearn by driving. This one, we've disconnected the battery, tried to brain dead it, it didn't work. We tried to adapt it by learning and driving it wouldn't work. The only way it worked was to have the dealer set the adaptation. So don't forget the adaptations the next time you have a problem on a harsh upshift.